Hello, advanced algebra students. Welcome back to another video lesson. Last week here of the first semester, and we're going to try and introduce you to a topic called factoring, something that you may have a little bit of background on from algebra, but really this is helping to prepare us for the start of second semester. So it's kind of an introduction, but kind of also just preparing us to be ready for what we start with next week when we start the second semester. So today we're going to be focusing on something called the solving quadratics that are in factored form. So they've already been factored for us. And really the important part here is why. Why is factored form important? What is it? And how does it help us? So we can say that a quadratic function, right, that ax squared plus bx plus c, right, quadratic function usually takes the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. That's that standard form that we learned. And what we're trying to do is break that down into its smallest pieces, which we call factors. We can break it down into the two factors. And what that leads to is this zero product property in math. All right, if I have two factors, if I have two pieces of information, let's say if I have a times b, and I know that they equal 0, I can then conclude the following, that a must be 0 or that b must be 0, right? 0, right? If this a part was a 0, no matter what's inside this b part, 0 times something is going to be 0. If I flip that around, if a is some expression, but I know that I can get b to equal 0, then I know the whole thing, right? That's this zero product property where one of the two factors, one of those two expressions, if they equal 0, then we can solve the equation. And so the goal here is to eventually break this chunk down, the standard form, into its two factors. So we're going to kind of go backwards now from what we did at the beginning of chapter 6. And you'll see here in this first example what I mean, right? Right now, we're going to start with the expanded form. All right? They already factored the problem with us. In a sense, if we would have started with x squared minus 4x minus 45. And all I'm doing here to get that was to use that FOIL or box method. So they already took this and said, here's the two smallest pieces. Here's those two factors, x plus 5 and x minus 9 equals 0. So now that we know the equation equals 0, we can use the zero product property. Imagine this is our A and this is our b. A times b equals 0. So either this chunk, x plus 5, has to somehow equal 0, or this chunk, x minus 9, equals 0. And so we solve it twice by setting each factor equal to 0. So x could equal negative 5, or we solve the second one. X minus 9 equals 0. And we get x equals 9. So we will have two answers. X could equal negative 5 or x could equal 9 in this example. And plug both of those numbers back in, one at a time though, right? Plug negative 5 into both of these if we check. Plug negative 5. Negative 5 plus 5 times negative 5 minus 9. And in doing so, this is 0 times negative 14, or 0, because 0 times anything is 0. Same thing's going to happen over here. What happens when I plug in 9? Well, 9 minus 9 is 0 in the second parenthesis, and then 9 plus 5 is the 14. 14 times 0 is 0. So we can use that zero product property to set each factor, x plus 5 equal to 0, or x minus 9 equals 0. Try it on the second one here, see what you come up with. Good time to pause the video and check your understanding. Okay, so we've got two factors. that are being multiplied. They both equal 0. So I'm going to set the first factor, 3x minus 4, equal to 0, and I'm going to solve that. Add 4 to both sides. 3x equals 4. Divide both sides by 3, and we get x equals 4/3. Leave it as an improper fraction. It's going to be a lot easier to work with. Or let's solve the second one. 2x plus 8 equals 0. Subtract the 8, and we have 2x equals negative 8. Divide both sides by 2, and x equals negative 4. So we have two possible answers. X could equal 4/3, or x could equal negative 4. And that's what you're going to be working on today. It's really just going back to the basics of algebra and solving by taking each factor and setting it equal to 0. If you have any questions, please make sure that you reach out. Otherwise, until next time, folks, stay safe.